Hello and welcome to Home Gupshup. Indian meals do require a bit of planning and prep since we love our meals to be elaborate with a variety of options on our plates. Keeping our meals simple and easy to prepare can be made possible if we ensure that some part of the process is done in advance, which is what we call meal planning. Indian meals cannot be planned in a way where we prepare a lot of stuff in advance and store them, since our meals involve a lot of fresh vegetables, sometimes even milk and milk products that can go bad sooner. So how does one ensure that the process of making an entire meal gets easier and faster too? Well, there are certain things one can do, and I like to follow those options whenever I can. Chopping some of the veggies or soaking and preparing the soya chunks in advance can be one way to save time on the actual day of preparing the meal. Like for instance, I am going to be preparing some of the things in advance for the upcoming meals. I'll be making some sambar for lunch, for which I have soaked the dal a night before. I like to use a combination of moong and masoor dal for sambar. While I'm at it, I'm also going to be chopping some zucchini for another lunch recipe that I'll be making later. Of course, chopping things just then is surely the best way out, but prep simply helps during work hours when one might be in a hurry. I'm going to make a bigger batch of sambar today, which is also another way of meal prepping. I usually like to cook sambar dal separately and the veggies in a pot separately, so both things happen simultaneously and save a ton of time in the kitchen. I'm using whatever vegetables I had for that day and sauteing the harder ones first, beginning with carrots, potatoes, followed by zucchini and okra. Adding boiled dal, salt and sambar powder at this stage. I like to add onion towards the very end so they don't get overcooked. Also using tamarind water at this point. As a part of meal prep, I always like to boil and keep potatoes at hand. You could use those to not only make the main recipes but also some side dishes. Since I had some potatoes left from the lot, I decided to quickly make potato sabzi to go alongside sambar and dosa today. Using urad dal and chana dal first, followed by mustard seeds, cumin, Asafoetida, green chillies, curry leaves and whole red chillies too. I only like to soften the onions a little bit in this recipe and not cook them a lot. Once this entire mixture is cooked, we can add the potatoes. I will be mashing them slightly and not too much since some chunks are also nice in this dish. Water, salt, sugar and turmeric are the spices I used to bring the entire thing together. Both of us at home like the potatoes to not be too dry but have some moisture in them, which is why I added a touch of hot water too, to adjust the consistency. Here's my tadka for sambar. I got this tadka pan from India. Let me know if you need the link for something similar. I've been loving it lately, and for those curious, mine is stainless steel, and since it has a very small spot touching the cooktop, I'm not sure if this would work on an induction based cooktop. However, if you have something like mine with a direct heat source, then this will surely work. For my tadka, I like to use whole garlic cloves, but this can surely be chopped. They taste very nice when dunked in piping hot sambar. Another trick I use if the sambar is tasting less tangy is to add a touch of amchur powder towards the very end. Don't scold me for this hack, I know it's not authentic, but this is just a quick fix towards the end. I usually buy ready-made dosa batter from the Indian stores over here, and having a big batch in the fridge covers a few meals easily. Another thing I do is place 2 pans at once to make the process faster. A friend the other day was quite surprised when I told her I make it this ways. She said it's actually a good idea, especially when hosting people over. Apart from the regular dosa sambar, I also make a combination of veg korma with dosa sometimes for dinner, or chicken curry with the same dosa, or sometimes just make uttapam with the leftover batter for breakfast the next morning. This ways, one single batter makes for multiple meals, and this is usually a big treat for us since we love these meals. If you're wondering that meal prep itself is a tedious process that may require a fair bit of your time and effort on your part, then trust me, it's not the case if you make use of the right kind of gadgets or tools to be your helpers. Like for instance, I love using the air fryer to bhuno my eggplants. I mean roast the eggplants. It does the job perfectly without me having to monitor anything personally. I put it for about 18 minutes on high, say about 190 to 200, and I also grill it for the last 2 to 5 minutes to get that charred effect. You can do the same in the oven. Save water from the first and the second rinse of soaked lentils to water the plants. Another tool up my alley is my instant pot that pressure cooks everything again without having to monitor it. Sometimes when I know I'm going to have more of an Indian menu throughout the week, I like to prepare this thing using brinjal that acts both as a fresh element like a salad and at the same time as a side dish. So after roasting the brinjal along with some garlic and tomatoes, I'm going to mash everything together. Now unlike the Baingan bharta that we usually make by cooking a bit of onions etc., this one is simpler. We are going to simply chop everything together. I also prepped for some pickled onions and kept them ready for the week. I usually like to use sliced onions instead of the whole round ones since I find these easier to eat. So in a jar I'm going to be adding warm water, not hot, just warm water, to which I will add some vinegar. Honestly, the vinegar we get over here is super strong. So, those living in Germany, be careful of how much you're adding. To that, we have to add salt, sugar, beetroot, and onions, of course. I know many add green chilies too. Beetroots are definitely there to add color. In the end, I added some slices of ginger too. My mum used to make pickled ginger back in the days, so I decided to add some here itself. This is a winter memory from back home. The other day I had plans of making zucchini sabzi for lunch along with dal and brinjal mash. I'd already prepped for most of the things, like I have already shown zucchini was pre-chopped and so was the brinjal part that was done in advance. This zucchini recipe relies on the flavor of the vegetable, which is quite subtle and comforting. I use Kalonji, or I think they are called onion seeds, in this recipe along with the mustard seeds, salt, turmeric, and a touch of hot water. Be sure to add some sugar to balance the flavors, only a little bit. Alongside this, I am preparing a typical dal tadka with onion, cumin, tomatoes, asafoetida, and green chilies. This winter, we are focusing more on hot dals and dal soups even to make for a light but homely meal. I like to keep my oil bottles and even spice jars and other such things in order while preparing my meals. It's not always that I like to make so many recipes for my daily meals, but sometimes the treat is worth the effort. And what makes the entire process even simpler is the meal planning that is specific to Indian meals. This way, we can avoid batch preparing everything, but we can still get a head start, which will allow us to offer a fancier than usual meal. This one preparation that I usually do is helpful both for dinner and breakfast. It's up to you how you like it. I had soaked soya chunks earlier in the day, so along with that I'm going to be chopping some more veggies. To be frank, anything that's available on hand can be used in this and put together. Make sure they are cooked if that is something that's required for a particular vegetable like zucchini. I'm going to be making soya discs out of this mixture today, and for binding I'm going to be using a little bit of leftover boiled potatoes, and if you still need you can add breadcrumbs like I did. Now to this mixture, since we are not cooking it, we will add all the spices here itself like salt, chaat masala, red chili flakes and garlic powder, which is optional. What I also like to do is make this mixture beforehand and store it in the fridge. Another option is also to make the entire discs and then you can store them for, I believe, a couple of days in the refrigerator. When frying them, I am going to be sprinkling some toasted sesame seeds on top. While frying them, I am going to be flattening them a bit since I am using bread today. But if using burger buns, then we can keep them as it is. Don't forget to sprinkle on some more chaat masala on top of these when serving. Anyways, we will be making a grilled sandwich today out of this, which tastes wonderful when assembled this ways. So after applying a thin layer of butter on the bread, I am going to be placing the soya tikkis along with some mayo and ketchup. You can consider using hung yogurt in place of mayo if that's what you like. I am additionally adding some freshly washed baby spinach leaves and onion slices. Grill this entire pack and you will have a wonderful dinner ready. It pairs well with some kind of a soup if that makes sense to you. This recipe is amazing for lunch boxes too. I often make extra and then make this entire thing the next morning whenever hubby has work from office day. So all I need to do then is simply assemble the sandwiches and place them in the lunchbox. So those were some of the meals I put together with the help of meal planning and prepping. Hope you enjoyed watching the video. Until next time, here's Home Gupshup signing off.